And there's been no shortage of news as well too. Most recently today, when we're recording this, yesterday, by the time you're hearing this, the Jets did decide to move on from another free agent signing of the Joe Douglas era. CJ Uzomah was cut. Will save 5.1 million against the cap. A few years back, he signed a 3-year, $24 million deal, um, and finished his Jets career with 29 catches, 290 yards, and 3 touchdowns across 27 games. Very disappointing tenure for a guy that I think
Yeah,
we're both very excited about. Now, I do believe there is a certain value held to him in the locker room. I think he was a well-respected
for
guy, and
sure.
even in the article that I believe the Athletic put out today, there was reports that there was a chance that he was going to be cut the same time that Michael Carter was released from the team during the season, but there was the desire to keep him in the locker room, and they just diminished his role instead. So, what are your thoughts? I think this was a move we probably saw coming. It wasn't like the voided years that they did with Carl Lawson and everybody else a few weeks back, but another guy that we really had high expectations for that just didn't live up to the billing.
Yeah, if you told me 2 years ago when he was signed that he would be cut in 2 years, I wouldn't say I was necessarily surprised. That kind of was like, yeah, he's a little older, but the 29 catches, I'd say, w was a big surprise. That year before when he was with the Bengals, I believe the year they went to the Super Bowl, like he was a baller, a true baller, and was making a ton of plays offensively. We signed him and Conklin together. We really thought they were going to come in and succeed as these two premier tight ends. And Uzama was even supposed to be the starter over Conklin. Obviously that didn't work out. Both years rough, this past year especially, just with kind of the way he had some shaky moments and big moments, with drops and penalties. The fan base really did take a turn on him quick. So I don't want to be too hard on him because I feel like like you said, like he was a great locker room guy, great dude. You know, Unfortunately didn't work out. If you want to blame, our offensive coaching staff and our quarterback play and all that good stuff, I'm sure that had something to do with it. Um, yeah, not surprising, but you're a good guy, CJ Uzama. That's what I have to say.
Definitely. I can only think about Bengals fans maybe doing like a victory dance over, they lost Carl Lawson and CJ Uzomah to the
I
Jets
know
in,
they
in
just screwed
consecutive
us.
years and made off just fine with it. Didn't have to deal with the headaches that Jets fans had to during their tenures. To me, the bigger story in my wormhole that I went down today after hearing this news is I was like, man, that's yet again another signing in free agency by Joe Douglas that didn't pan out with the Jets. And I went ahead and looked over the last 3 off seasons of the multi-year deals that he's handed out, and it is a gross, gross list of deals and results from the players that are brought in. So I'm just going to speed through these real quick, and then I want your thoughts on it. I want, get some anger off your chest or your questions about Joe Douglas, because I didn't realize it was like I knew there were misses, but I didn't realize how bad it was at times. So 2021, the big names were Carl Lawson, who was cut recently. He earned $6.5 million per each sack he got in his Jets tenure. Disgusting. Corey Davis, solid at times, retired, didn't really get the most out of him that we probably would have wanted. And especially this year, we could have definitely used him. So that one stinks. Sheldon Rankins, he had 6 sacks across 2 years for the Jets. Last year, he had 6 sacks for the Houston Texans. The one from that one that I'll give as well to Justin Hardy, good role player for special teams. Good signing. It was a cheap deal. I like
Captain.
that one. Yep. 2022 only gets worse. Laken Tomlinson, as we all know, cut recently, signed a $40 million deal to be one of the worst starting left guards in football across the last few years. Braxton Berrios was a free agent after being with the Jets, signed a multi-year deal, which the Jets cut him after one season. Would have been what, the Jets' third, fourth best wide receiver this year. It's hard to make an argument that he wouldn't have had some sort of value in the locker
Yeah,
room this year.
100%.
Jordan Whitehead, strong safety, was cut as well too. Very inconsistent at times at a non-premium position. Signed a 3-year kind of a deal in the same with the Uzomah range in the 20 millions of dollars. And then we've got CJ, who we were just talking about, cut today when we're recording this. 58 receiving yards in 2023. Not a typo. That's kind of crazy. That's insane. Here's where it gets a little bit better. DJ Reed, great player, one of the better number 2 corners in all of football. I'm happy for Joe Douglas that this one is on the list because that is a one that you can like hang your hat on and say great job. Tyler Conklin, as you alluded to as well too, solid tight end, decent contract. No, he's not a top 4 or 5 guy at the position, but has been a pleasant surprise coming from Minnesota. And then Jacob Martin, he signed a 3-year deal and was traded 8 games into it. Had 1 sack with the New York Jets. So that's the big one. 2022 really had the stacked list of multi-year
Yeah.
deals. This past offseason, there weren't as many. A lot of your 1-year Randall Cobb, Tim Boyle, you had all these random 1-year deals that weren't really on there. But in 2023, you got Wes Schweitzer, who made 2 starts on the interior offensive line for the Jets last year. And then still on the team, Alan Lazard, I would call it almost an untradeable contract, and was one of the worst value wide receivers last year across all of football. So anything specifically stand out? General thoughts on that when you hear all of those names? Because that was, we got excited each offseason being like, wow, Joe Douglas, great job there, great job there. Now we're sitting with money that's, tied into some of these guys next year on voided contracts. We were able to get out of some, but that's a huge list there, and only a couple of guys have made a real impact on this Jets organization.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. I'm trying to count right now. So we got 4 in 2021, 7 in 2022, 2 in 2023. So that's quick math, 13. Um,
Stats
so
major.
and so you look for those 13 players, and I'm sorry if I'm having some technical issues in
There you
my
go.
voice. A
It's
little
all good
weird right
now.
now. So of those, 13 players, you try to pull out the ones that were successful and were decent free agent signings. You have DJ Reed, you have Tyler Conklin, you know, Jordan Whitehead, you could maybe call a C minus. He played, he started, he was decent at times, bad at times. The 2 in 2023, Wes Schweitzer and Alan Lazard, both as of now, big misses. The thing with Alan Lazard, like he really disappointed this year. And, for him and kind of all the receivers on this list, part of you wants to say, like, well, if we were able to have a little bit more of a functioning offense, that would work. But clearly these signings weren't enough to get it there. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see if Aaron Rodgers can get on the field and play with Alan Lazard, if like we're able to see kind of what that value was for. But to this point,
Yeah.
100% a whiff, and then looking at 2021, Justin Hardy is a good signing. And then maybe again, Sheldon Rankins, maybe like a C type average. So
Hmm.
3 good grades you'd give there, 2 kind of average, and then the rest are unfortunately a wash. And you know, a lot of it for sure, not always, just the player's fault, or just the player being bad, I guess. Carl Lawson gets injured early in his Jets tenure, is never really the same, never bounces back to become that player we hope. Corey Davis goes through the Zach Wilson year, comes out, unfortunately retires, whatever his family issues were. That stinks, and we're rooting for the guy. But at the end of the day, it's a free agent signing that didn't really provide the value we were hoping it would. Um, and that's kind of like the only arguments you can make, right? So yeah, not this kind of helps to show, hey, we had all these expectations. More of these guys not hitting is one of the reasons we haven't been able to really step up. Um, and I also think it does double down a little bit on your point of last week, right? To just not get too overexcited about free agency, not to think that you completely crushed it and you got all the
Hmm.
best players, so you're going to be great. That 2022 year, we had so much goddamn money. We've signed 7 multi-year deals, big deals, really flipping over the roster. And unfortunately, Laken Tomlinson, it was a guy, finally, we have this good all-pro guard who can come play and really solidify this line. That did not happen. So yeah, this list, it doesn't make me feel great. It's unfortunate. The only hope is that Alan Lazard comes back and is really good to kind of help push this a little bit towards good. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of unfortunate misses, whether it's the fault of the players themselves or outside circumstances, it doesn't always really matter.
And I would be shocked if Lazard is not better next year, but that's mostly
Oh,
just because I
yeah.
don't think you can get much worse. But what worries me the most when I look at some of the bigger names is that at the same time, we haven't done the best job addressing replacements through the draft. Whereas now, like, we go into this offseason, what do we still need? Offensive line, wide receiver. If we lose Bryce Huff, we still need edge guys. Like, I know we like Jermaine and Will McDonald. We need like 5 or 6 guys with the way Salah's going to run this defense. We need starting safeties again. We are just in this position now where like we've tried to add in at these premium positions that are not quarterback. We've got Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully when he's ready to go in 2024, that is a big fix. But we're still sitting here saying, like, okay, a lot of the wide receivers we brought in did not pan out. A lot of the edges that we brought in, I guess there's only 1 or 2 that got multi-year deals. They didn't work out, and the offensive linemen didn't either as well, too. So that kind of starts to worry me because those are the premium positions. And it's like I love that we get, solid linebackers in there. The story of Quincy Williams and CJ Mosley has been fantastic. I love that, you've got a great running back in Brees Hall, but we do need to start getting and stacking up some wins here, whether it be free agency or the draft at premium positions.
Yeah. I also just think it helps to illustrate, when we looked at this Jets team last year, and even in 2022, but really last year, it was so easy to kind of look at all these names and pair that with, Aaron Rodgers and this Hall of Fame quarterback and really be like, wow, like we're solid. Where are the holes? How is this team not a contender? You know? And now
Hmm.
you look at it and you say, okay, what's your tight end situation? Well, you have Conklin, who's all right, and you have, average backups. What's your wide receiver situation? Well, you have Garrett Wilson. He's really good. And then kind of just, meh behind him. What's your line situation? Unfortunately, despite all our best efforts, it's completely in the dark, really. And we're going to have to piece together a starting five this year. And then on the defense, like you said, we lose one of our starting safeties. Um, have to recoup things on the offensive line, especially at edge with Bryce Huff probably leaving and things like that. Like the that like thought of like, wow, we are so solid and we really don't have those holes. It's just not here this year. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
And sure, they might be able to address all those needs and fill those holes and have Aaron Rodgers come back and be great. But certainly the expectation and just the like analysis of the team, you're not sitting there being like, wow, they really are solid. And it's because of a lot, these big free agent signings not working out.
Hmm.
Obviously this is 13 guys. There's tons of other 1 year guys we didn't bring up and stuff, but these are supposed to be, hey, we're going to sign these guys and they're going to help solidify this position for a few years. Outside of DJ Reed, no one has done that on this list. You know
Yep.
what I mean? So,
Exactly. Yeah, to me at least, because I know I was firm on the table of this past offseason. I was like cool with Salah, and I said this last week again. I've said it a bunch, so I'm cool if they let Salah go, but I wanted Joe to stay. If we get through another free agency, and obviously we can only play it out next season. I don't know how signing Tyrone Smith to be the left tackle is going to play out here in March, but
sure.
this is as make or break for this group here.
Yeah.
Like, and we've known that, but just at every level, like I don't think there is going to be a situation next year where if you're not firing Robert Saleh, you're also not firing Joe Douglas. Like, to me,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
this is like if it goes bad, it's everybody. It's every single person in
Yeah.
here that's
And I
getting cut.
think we've gotten to that point in their tenures where it's been so long. And, early in Joe Douglas's career, it really did feel kind of like, I know the results aren't there, but this guy is just making good move after good move after good
Hmm.
move. And that it's not like those things are taken away from him. You look at the trades he's been able to pull off, you look at some of the draft gems he has been able to find, some of the early round picks that have worked out. There's plenty of good for Joe Douglas, right? But there's also that plenty of bad right there with it. And, it's not like we're in this, hey, it's only his first couple of years. There's still a lot of speculation we can still kind of say. It's like, no, we're 4 years into this. If it doesn't work now, it doesn't work. Like the results have to show themselves. And you can't just keep saying, oh, well, he makes great deals. It's like, well, clearly he hasn't been able to do enough.
And to tie in something that we talked a lot about last week, and we'll talk about for maybe just a few seconds today, how much easier would it be to retain a Bryce Huff if we didn't have to, put about around 16 million in voided dead money for some of these veterans? That's what Bryce
100%.
Huff wants next year. He wants 16 million. It's a lot easier to do if you don't have some of these bad deals the year beforehand. So it's definitely like it's very hit or miss right now, and makes me definitely skeptical as we head into this free agency period, thinking like, okay, am I gonna hype myself up over the four free agents that are brought in, or am I gonna see the name and just be a little bit more relaxed and
Oh
patient
yeah,
and let it all play out? I definitely have tepid
certainly. Yeah.
expectations with free agency.